A little lackluster, to be honest. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another episode of Poke Talk, and today's episode of Poke Talk is just going to be a general Pokemon news discussion. And before we get into it, I want to be honest with you guys. I thought there was going to be a lot more to talk about this week because, last week during the Sun and Moon episode, we heard that there was going to be more information on the Pocket Monsters anime that was going to come out this week. That really didn't happen. Then we had the Shield and Sword 24-hour live stream where we thought we were going to be seeing all these new Pokemon here and all these things. That really didn't happen. But there were some little things that did happen this week, little but significant, that I do want to talk to you guys about, as well as address something that you guys have been asking me about on Twitter. So at risk of further rambling, still have stuff to discuss, so let's get started. So first of all, Shield and Sword. We are now 39 days out from the worldwide launch of Pokemon Shield and Pokemon Sword, which will be coming out on November 15th. I personally am very excited. I've already got both copies on pre-order at GameStop here, so I'm really looking forward to going in and picking those up on November 15th. So yeah, 39 days and counting. And with that, this is going to be an excellent transition into what I want to talk about, and that was the 24-hour live stream. Like I stated earlier, we thought there was going to be a lot coming out of this, but there really wasn't, and there are a lot of interesting ways that you can reveal new Pokemon to us, the fans. This certainly was not one of them. It was a 24-hour live stream where basically we watched the Luminess forest and all these Pokemon were supposed to be wandering through. It was supposed to be kind of like a nature watcher format where you were sitting there watching out in this forest and occasionally a new Pokemon would come by or an old Pokemon would come by, frankly. And we thought, okay, maybe every 5 minutes or so we'd see something come up. That really didn't happen. Most of it was stuff we already knew, or there was just nothing at all. There was one interesting reveal, though, that I do want to talk about, and it was the one that caught everybody's attention here, and that is the Galarian Ponyta. It's a fairy type, we know that, but when this thing revealed, I gotta be honest, I looked at that, I'm like, somebody just screenshotted My Little Pony onto the Luminous Forest here because they were bored, because there were a lot of those things on Twitter where they were just screenshotting things into the images to make them funny. There was one that put Shrek in there. There was another one I saw with this guy who was standing around like, where the heck am I? There were all these different things. And of course, somebody also put Waldo on there. But when I saw this, I'm like, oh great, somebody just put in My Little Pony. But it turned out that that was legitimate and that the Galarian Ponyta has been revealed to us. It's a fairy type. Other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot to talk about from that 24-hour live stream, which was a big disappointment in my opinion. Frankly, I think the people that got the most let down were those that had their expectations astronomically high. I went into it thinking we would see maybe 3 or 4 Pokemon. I didn't think we were going to see a whole lot. So I got to be honest, my hype level wasn't really high to begin with. But when it was over, everybody's like, oh, well, this was horrible. It was a horrible idea. And while I don't disagree with that opinion because I think there were better ways to do it, I certainly got to admit that this was an interesting concept. It was a new concept that they tried. Frankly, I don't think they should do it again, but nonetheless, it was there, and we did get Galarian Ponyta for Shield and Sword confirmed. So with that, now we're going to transition into Sun and Moon. And Sun and Moon anime, like I said, is on its final weeks here. This week's episode was actually pretty good, in my opinion, the continuation of Ash versus Kukui here. And I got to admit, the battle is going really great. I'm really loving how they're handling it. But the last batch of episodes was revealed a couple of days ago, or a couple weeks ago rather, and from the appearances of it, we now know what the final battle is going to be in Sun and Moon, and it is going to be Ash versus Tapu Koko, which was not that surprising because, you know, that's how the series started, that's how the series should end in my opinion, so that wasn't very surprising. We did learn that that is going to be the last battle of Pokemon Sun and Moon here. And something else here, when this last batch of titles came out, what we're assuming will be the last batch, unless of course they do a couple of side specials here, was that Moan and that subject apparently isn't going to be touched at all, which is, I think, the biggest disappointment for me in Sun and Moon if that turns out to be true, because they've done so much build up for this, and the fact that they're just going to let that go, let that fade, let that disappear is really really heart-crushing and really dream-crushing in my opinion. They had so much potential for that. So if it turns out that this is truly the last batch of episode titles here and this subject isn't even touched at all, going to probably be my biggest disappointment of Sun and Moon. There are a lot of disappointments, but this is definitely going to be at the top of the list, in my opinion, just because they've done so much hype and build up for this, and the fact that they apparently aren't even going to touch it at all, well, that's just disappointing, in my opinion. I got to be honest, when I saw that, I was like, oh, come on. I know you've made mistakes, but clearly you're not going to drop that big of a ball. Well, apparently they are going to drop that big of a ball. So, yeah, apparently that's not going to be touched, sadly, Moon in Sun and Moon. So that's going to be an unanswered question, unless, of course, in the specials we get a special arcs thing, kind of like what they do at the end of every Pokemon series, where they dedicate a couple of episodes to the past characters, the past travel companions. Unless they go that route with that, I don't see it being covered at all, which is really a disappointment, in my opinion, on Sun and Moon. The battle was great this week, but when I heard that, I was just completely crushed, in my opinion. Okay, so now with that, I do want to transition back to the new Pokemon anime, Pocket Monsters. Like I said earlier, we were promised that there was going to be new information this week. That really didn't happen. All we got this week were new visuals of Go and Ash in Unova, Alola, and Johto. Nothing new as far as anime information on that front, other than those screenshots there, which really wasn't a whole lot. New visuals, not really anything to write home about, so that was a letdown. Although, apparently we're getting further information next week, and hopefully that ain't a troll, and we actually do get some legitimate information next week on Pocket Monsters anime, so that, of course, is going to be something to watch. And now for the elephant in the room, and something everybody has asked me to talk about or give my thoughts about on Twitter. I'm going to do it now. And that was the supposed leak that came out. And from what I understand, this wasn't an original leak, it was a 4chan leak. So before I go any further into this, I cannot believe I am discussing a 4chan leak again, because I gotta stress this to people. It is not a source. That is just a place for trolls. It is like the Wikipedia of Pokemon. I don't understand why people get so obsessed every time a 4chan leak comes out, because they're not even leaks, they're just trolls. But anyway, I do want to take a second to discuss it, because it does revolve around Pocket Monsters, and people have been begging me to. So anyway, supposedly this leak says in a roundabout way that when Ash meets Go, supposedly Ash is going to have a thing for Go at first. And I looked at that, I'm like, oh, come on, that's clearly written by an Amore shipping troll and somebody that just clearly wants to stir up drama in the community. But I do want to say this, though. While I don't believe this leak for a second, I do want to say I could see it being a running gag with Go for the beginning of Pocket Monsters, kind of like what they did with Annabelle way back in the Advanced Generation on the Battle Frontier. What I mean by that is everybody, when Go was revealed, was confused on what the heck Go was, whether he was a boy or a girl. I could see this totally being one of those scenarios where everybody that meets Go at the beginning of the anime is going to assume that he's a girl just from the looks of him, and he's going to have to constantly keep defending himself. I am not a girl, I am a boy. And there was actually a very nice fan art done on Twitter that I really enjoyed, and actually retweeted it just because it emphasized this point to me. And I'm going to put a brief snapshot of it here in the video. And I could totally see this happening as kind of like a comedic thing throughout the Pocket Monsters anime, just because it is so easy to confuse Go for a girl. I mean, for like what, the first 2 weeks when we got that poster, well, actually, it wasn't even a whole week. We were so confused on what Go was, on whether he was a boy or a girl, and everybody was torn, and I couldn't even tell. So I could see that being a running gag, kind of like what they did in Annabelle in the Battle Frontier, where they thought Annabelle was a boy until she had to admit she was a girl. I could see that happening with Go, just kind of in a reverse thing, and I could see that being a running gag there for a while. But other than that, I do not put any stock in the 4chan thing, and other than that, there is nothing I could see that would legitimize that, although, like I said, I could see that being a running gag with everybody in the beginning of Pocket Monsters, just to add a little bit of humor there, with Go constantly being confused as a girl, and he keeps having to say, I am not a girl, I am a boy, why does everybody keep thinking I'm a girl? I could see that being done, but other than that, no, I don't see anything else. So, like I said to my fans on Twitter, do not put any stock in it. 4chan is just an absolute cesspool. It is the Wikipedia of Pokemon, and those are my thoughts on it. But yeah, other than that, really not a whole lot to say this week. Like I said, I was expecting there to be a lot more to talk about just because with the 24-hour live stream and that announcement from the end of Sun and Moon last week, I was expecting there to be more to talk about, but I guess, hey, we'll have to wait till next week. Hopefully we've got a little bit more to talk about when it comes to Pocket Monsters. But for now, in the comments section down below, let me know what your guys' thoughts are about all this. What are your thoughts on the Luminous Forest 24-hour live stream? Do you think it was a flop? Did you actually enjoy it? What were your thoughts on Sun and Moon kind of teasing us there with the whole there was going to be Pocket Monsters anime information and then pulling the rug out from under you? What were your thoughts on the Sun and Moon episode titles, the last of them being revealed and Moan being nowhere in sight? Is that a disappointment to you? Are you okay with that? Just let me know what your guys' thoughts are about all of this in the comments section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. Alright everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye everybody.